All right, here we go. December 23rd. One more call till the end of the year. So hopefully we'll get everybody on track and prosperous for 2022.
Here I go. Jingle money, jingle all the way. Jingle money with your SEO master, John Limbacher.
Yeah, outdid yourself, Gregory.
That's classic. All right. So how's everybody doing here this week?
Wonderful.
Pretty good.
Right. Ready for a big 2022?
Yes,
Well,
sir.
Can I jump in here for a minute and tell you what I just did guerrilla wise?
Sure.
Well, I went to my Hotmail and I was going to transfer all my Hotmails to Thunderbird to do an email campaign on the holiday card you created for me. And thank you for that. I got a lot of good response. I did all my tags on my phone, 600 and something. They got it. And then I went to my Hotmail and I said, you know what? I really don't want to get hit with the spam notice. So what I did is I blind copied. I BTC.
Yeah.
And did all that. And I haven't got one notice from Microsoft yet at all.
That's
a
great idea.
I'm up to the letter. I just finished the G's. I'm ready to do the H's. And so there it is. Your launch.
That's a classic mistake a lot of people make when they send an email out to a bunch of different people. They don't BCC them. It's a mistake for a couple of reasons. It's a privacy thing. Like if you're that is known as sharing all those people's emails with everybody on the list. They might not want their email shared with those other people. So that's another reason that it gets flagged as spam, because a lot of the there's things in place to prevent the spread of spam, and that's one of them. And they figure, if you're going to start out small like that and they slap you on the wrist, then you'll just divert and not do that anymore and not expand upon that. Because most people that have good success with email, they want to expand on it. So they just get bigger and bigger, and then you can have some real nasty spam issues. And that's been pretty commonplace throughout the years, is, you see something that works and you expand on it and it might work. Email works. There's no doubt about it. Excuse me. But you really need to be aware of what you're doing. If you're sending emails to people that don't want them, it's funny. It's like their irritation level. It depends on where they are. They can cause you a lot of trouble. If they're like at the top, like let's say they've just got, 1,000 emails and you're the straw that broke the camel's back. All the rest of them skate free, but they attack you. They will report you. And I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen if you get reported for spam. The mildest of them is you will just be blocked from different networks and you can't get your mail out. That's the mildest of them. And that's not good. If you have real customers on those networks and you can no longer email them, that's a problem. Now you got to go through and get yourself whitelisted and unblocked off all the blacklists and all that. But the worst, if it elevates up, if they go up after the ISPs, the internet service providers, like if you're on, let's say you're on Microsoft or you're on Google or whatever, whichever ISP that you're on, if they complain up the line, they can actually shut that whole account down. So that's that's getting on the wicked nasty list there. You lose your whole account on email. There's not really much coming back from that other than begging for forgiveness. So you definitely want to be careful with that. Email it's a great game, but it's a treacherous game. Just make sure. That's why I talk about segmentation. When you segment your lists, you can be so specific with your emails that you won't upset anybody. when my first thing, when I started off doing email marketing, I saw the power of it right away. And we're going way back. This is back when I had an AOL account, and I was actually, I figured out how to mine the AOL addresses out of AOL. It was an open source thing. And you could go into the members and you could browse the member directory by certain categories, or filters rather. And I could filter out like anybody that had the name Joe and liked to fish or liked to golf or whatever. And then I could send Joe specifically a message. This was back before they had all these fancy programs that would, plug your first name in and all that, all the mail merge and all that. So I was just going after all the Joes in AOL that liked to golf. And then I'd send them this letter. I'd say, hey, Joe, I had noticed you're a golfer. I saw it in your member profile. I'm a golfer too. So now, this is more, it looks like a personal email. It doesn't look like a spam. It doesn't look like you sent it out to 10,000 Joes, right? It's a particular email that went to that Joe. And you're laying that common ground, which that's where segmentation happens. If I just went into AOL and I just said, hey, Joe, I'm a golfer, and I didn't know Joe golfed, that's spam. That's just pure blanket spam. You want to be careful of that stuff. That's what will get you in trouble. Because that's, and there was some guys in the very beginning of this that they decided everybody on the planet needed Viagra, and that was a problem. They didn't segment. I mean, they didn't even break it down to men or women. They didn't even segment the gender. It's like, really? Women don't really need Viagra unless they're buying it as a gift. I mean, maybe it's a gift for themselves. I don't know. but you can see where I'm getting with the segmentation and the personalization of those emails. That's what will keep you out of trouble. That's what will make your emails very effective, and your conversions will be high, and you'll make more money. If your conversions are not there, you're not going to convert. The conversion is where the money takes place. Not all conversions are having to do with money, but ultimately they are all pointed that direction. You have a conversion first of an opt-in for a free offer. There's no money there, but you're building a list so you can next make an offer so you can make money. But again, the more specific that you are every step of the way, the better everything is going to go for you. The last thing you want to do is have people screaming at you for being a spammer. It's not fun. And this is where, over the last probably month or two, I've brought up the whole idea of solo emails. There are providers out there that have built their own lists that are specific. They're segmented, and they will do what is called a solo email for you. They'll send an email to their list on your behalf. Those are really effective if you get the right provider. And again, you can't just send, any email out to everybody. It doesn't, that doesn't work. It doesn't convert. And most of the solo guys won't do that anyway. unless they see a relevant ad to their audience, they probably won't take your offer. So anyway, and another thing, as long as we're on the email subject, I did want to bring up that inside Kartra, and I don't know why this didn't occur to me to begin with. I was always so scared of sending email inside Kartra for fear of losing the account. I've always, bubbled that fear onto you guys too. Be careful with your Kartra accounts. If you are sending mail inside your Kartra account that you think is going to be on the edge, like if you're importing a list or something, I've told everybody, don't import your lists into Kartra. But I was wrong with that. You can import your list into Kartra. They will allow it. But what you should not do is you should not use the Kartra mailer to mail those lists unless they're warmed up. So inside Kartra, in the integrations, they have integrations for different email providers in there. If you go in, let me show you here. No, it's not letting me get in there right now. But anyway, you can go in there and you know there's different mail providers in there. Like there's SendGrid. I signed up specifically for a SendGrid account. I connected the integration inside Kartra to SendGrid. And now when I send an email out, I can choose which mailer I want to send it out through. I can choose either Kartra Mail or I can choose SendGrid. So if you import a list, I would highly recommend that you choose the SendGrid mailer or one of the other ones. If there's several email providers in there. One of them is Mailgun, SendGrid, and I think there's at least one or two other email providers that you can integrate. So if you use the other email provider, that will not go against you in Kartra if somebody complains. But Kartra has such tight regulation on complaints. If you get 1 out of 1,000 people that complain about an email in Kartra, that's too much for them. That's beyond their tolerance level. So that's, that's pretty tight. That's why I was always afraid to use their email program to email anything out that wasn't just absolutely spot on specific. And when I'm doing these new campaigns that I've been doing over the last few weeks or last few months rather, I've been doing a lot of these programs where they have summits, telesummits, free giveaways, all that stuff to build my list. And it's worked pretty good. It's got me a lot of low level prospects. Not a lot of them are converting. And, it's basically, it's the freebie takers, and that I get it. And maybe I can appeal to them at something, but the idea is you want to be able to email them over and over and over. And that's where I had that fear of taking these new people that I didn't really have a relationship with and emailing them over and over and over till I can figure out what they want or what they need, what I can provide for them. So now with SendGrid, I don't have that concern anymore. I can go ahead, I can email them all I want through SendGrid. SendGrid doesn't have that kind of tight tolerance. They'll allow you to, get a few complaints, and that's not a big deal. So the other thing is a lot of times when you're in these summits and you pay to be a sponsor or a pro member in the summit, it's not very expensive. Like the ones I've been doing, I think it's $60. And because I paid the $60 and I'm at the sponsor level, I get the list of emails for all the people that have opted in for all the free stuff, whether they opted in for mine or not. And usually it's anywhere from about 500 to 1,500 people. That's new prospects. And I have not wanted to email them at all. Well, now I can import them into Kartra. All I have to do is make sure I put them on a very specific list, or I add a tag to them so I can eliminate that tag from any other email that I send out, make sure that I don't send them anything generic, or at least I don't send them anything generic through my Kartra mail. If I want to mail those people, I mail it through the SendGrid. That's all you have to do. So if you want to import lists, even your own lists, even if you've got a past customer list, I didn't recommend that you import it into Kartra, but now I'm changing that. I'm going to recommend that you import it through Kartra, and then just don't use Kartra mail to send them. Sign up for a SendGrid account. I think it was pretty cheap. I think it was like $10 a month for a SendGrid account. And I think that gives me, I can send like 100,000 emails a month or something like that, something ridiculous for really cheap. So that is what I would do. You want to send email. Remember last week when we did our year-end deal, that was one of the big things. How many emails did you send out? How many promotions did you do? How many new offers did you do? And that was something I was really weak on in this year, was sending out email. I didn't send out a ton of email. And the more you get in front of people, the more you build relationships, the more you give, the more you get back. The more you give, the more you can ask for. It's like when you're sending email out, you shouldn't always send out an email asking for money. It doesn't work. It might work a couple of times, but if every email your prospects get, you're asking them to buy something, they're automatically going to know, oh, yeah, I don't want to buy anything today, so I'm not even going to look. So keep that in mind. You want to send probably, I know a lot of the guys in the IMs in that space, they will say one offer for every 3 emails out. So you want to send 2 offers out with really good stuff, good value. You're giving them something free or telling them something they need to know. And then after the second one, then you slip in, okay, here's something that I recommend. So that's right. Libby says, give, and ask. So that's exactly right. The more you give, the more you receive. And the more people will trust you, the more people will rely on you. That's what you want. You want somebody, when they think of a problem, and not because you're the problem, you want them to think of you because you're the solution. You don't ever want them thinking of you when they have a problem because you're the problem. You want them thinking of you when they have a problem because they know you're the solution. You're the one, you're the pillar they can lean on to get through that storm. And the more you show up, the more you can create that kind of value, that kind of relationship with them. So that's a really good thing to do. And you do that by multiple touches. I know Gary Howarth, who's part of the group, he teaches a lot of that stuff with sales through email. And one of the things he's done is he does a lot of research, and he found that the number of touches has increased radically over the last few years. If you look back, traditional marketing will say you need 7 touches. Well, Gary says you need now like 20 or more. So that just means you need more communication. You need more email. You need to be in front of them more and give them free stuff, give them webinars, give them trainings. That's another thing. I was talking this morning to the guys from ClickBank. I finally found somebody inside ClickBank that is really, really helpful. And they're going to try and help me get the ACT program and our Site Pop program into ClickBank in 2022, where we've already started working on it. And, some of the stuff, he was giving me some insights into what they've learned over the years. And one of the things was webinar is not necessarily such a good word anymore. It's got a meaning to it. Like people know, okay, oh, got a webinar. I'm going to sit through an hour and then I'm going to get pitched at the end. It's almost like seminar. You're going to go to a free seminar and then you're going to get pitched at the end. So he said, instead of packaging things up as a webinar, you package it up as a free training where you're going to get X, Y, and Z out of it. And he said that converts way, way better. So if you guys are stuck on doing, webinars, all you have to do is change the front end of it. Just call it a free training, not a webinar. And you'll get more people to show up. You get more people to sign up, and then they'll be more apt to show up when the time comes. So that's one of the shifts that I'll be doing as well. Instead of, and it's going to be hard because I've referred to just about everything as webinars, whether they're actually webinars or not. So it's going to take a little mental shift for me to get out of that track. I get pretty ingrained in stuff. But free trainings, that's what we'll be all about in 2022. All right. So anybody else got anything? We're kind of covered the whole email thing there. And lots of familiar faces on that I haven't seen in a while. Welcome back to many of you. Woody, you got a question? It looks like
That's right. I'm here with my buddy Rishi Valshow.
I noticed that. I saw he poked his head in and Allie got all excited.
But anyway, there's an event coming up at the LA Convention Center, and it's all about disabled. And I was wondering if we could set up that program that you were talking about with,
The crowd targeting?
yeah, that you could tap into their cell phones.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that, John.
Yeah. It's, one of the cool things about that is you can do it after the fact.
Really?
I don't know if you guys realize that, but the data, the data is already there. We're just tapping into pre-existing data with that. And we can go up to a year backwards. So you could come and you could tell me that, hey, there was a convention last month. I didn't even know about it, but I know the address and I know the hours that people were in the building. And we could go back and we can pluck the data and we could literally tell you who was in that building between X amount of hours.
Wow.
For a year in the rear. So
that's powerfully scary, John.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. But and then as far as like what we do with the data, we connect that data with American Express's database, and it surprisingly spits out what all the devices that user uses. We're not getting their personal data. Like I can't tell you who it is, but I can tell you all the computers that they belong to them or that they get onto. So like their work computer, their home computer, their cell phone itself, and we can start running retargeting ads out to those devices. So it's really, really cool. One thing about retargeting has been over the last 4 or 5 years, ever since it got real popular, probably the last 5 years, let's say, advertisers have found that the most inexpensive, effective marketing that they can do online. Like they spend all this money to drive traffic to their sites, and they know the conversion numbers on that traffic. That's the front end, the first time they get them there. But then with retargeting, they get the opportunity to bring those people back after they've left the website. And that's where they're getting their highest end conversions, and it's the cheapest traffic that they're buying. They might spend $5 to $10 a person to get them on the website. And then they show up and they leave. And that can get really expensive.
No shit.
Because if you don't get them to opt in, I mean, they're literally gone. You spent that money and the opportunity's over when they leave if they didn't buy something. But with retargeting, you didn't lose out. You paid the money to get them there, but now you have the opportunity to follow them really, really cheaply. Retargeted traffic, if you guys don't realize this, it's sold on a CPM basis. That's cost per mil, which is 1,000. So for you to display your ad 1,000 times to people that have already been on your site, that's retargeting. The cost on that, average cost is probably $20 1,000, if not less.
What a difference.
So $20 to display 1,000 ads to people that have already seen you before to try and bring them back. And think about this. Remember the big idea? The reason we have more than one big idea is because a big idea is made to grab one specific person, one person that's looking for one thing, or different things appeal to all of us. You could have a group of 5,000 like-minded people, and one big idea might appeal to 100 of them. A slightly different big idea will appeal to another 100 of them. So these cheap retargeting ads, you can spin off big idea after big idea until you finally grab their attention to pull them back into your web. So, and you can do it really, really cheaply. So the big key component to crowd targeting, the thing that makes this just bonkers off the hook, is you don't have that big cost up front to acquire the audience like you do on your website. Like I said, on your website, you might be paying $5 to $10 a click to get people onto your website. With crowd targeting, I can literally tell you who is in that building and build you an audience for free. And then you just spend the cheap retargeting to get them back to your website or onto your website to begin with.
Yeah, in other words, can they do that with somebody else had, let's say that somebody else had a real estate convention, is what you're saying? Not
Yeah.
Woody, and he could use their people, retarget them.
Absolutely. Like if a lot of times, I don't know if realtors do this, but I know people in the finance industry do this a lot because I get a ton of these postcards where they invite you out to a free dinner and they do a presentation and then they make an offer to you. Well, if you get the locations of all those presentations, I could tell you all of the clients that they spent a bunch of money to put in those seats.
Wow.
How's that for an idea? So it's like anything else with marketing, it's a creative process. The more creative you can get, the better your results will be. So it's, you're trying to catch mice and you're building a better mousetrap.
Well, this event is March 4th through the 6th at the LA Convention Center, all A. And it's Friday from 11 to 5 and Saturday from 11 to 5 and Sunday 11 to 4.
Okay.
So, John and Woody and Rishi, if they did this event last year, John, you could harvest all that information, and since that event's coming up, they could use it to whatever means.
Exactly. Like if you were going to display at that show, let's say you were going to be a vendor at the show, you could go back to last year's attendees and you could send out retargeted ads to their computers, giving them some free offer. Hey, come see Woody in booth, 1069 and get your free gift. And then when it's going to be preceded, when they show up at that show, what are they going to be looking for? Be looking for Woody and the free gift.
My jar of Hershey Kisses. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, again, getting creative. When you can do something more creative than the next guy, you will get more business. You will attract people. You want them to put the blinders on and not see all your competitors. You want them to walk down the hall with the blinders on, not looking to the side, looking for you. And that's what a big idea is for. It's that attention grabber. So yeah, like Tim says, come to Tim's table and win an iPad. So everybody's going to walk through the door laser focused on the iPad. They're not going to be looking to see what everyone else is saying. They're going to be just blinders on, looking for that iPad. So, I did this back when, what was it? The Wii games came out and they were almost impossible to find. And I sent Barb on a mission. I said, I want 10 of these things. And she spent, I don't know how many months hunting and searching and waiting in lines. And she got me 10 of these things and I took them to a trade show. It was the Miva conference. And I basically raffled them off to anybody that signed up to my program would be entered in the raffle. And, we gave away 10 of them right there at the show. And it caused an absolute frenzy because the person at the show that flew in from, different parts of the country, guess what? They were going to go home with a Wii for their kids. That's at that point in time when those things were impossible to get, every kid wanted one, you would be a superhero to bring that home. So again, it's just getting creative. What can you do to get a stampede of people coming your way? So either figure out what they want or figure out how to position something as what they want and then tell them why they want it. Because a lot of times people won't know that. Like some of those guys, they didn't realize, they didn't even know what a we was. But when I told them, I said, you're going to be a hero when you take this home to your kids. And then they call home and go, hey, what's a we? And the kids like go nuts over it. And then they're like, oh, okay, I want that. But they wouldn't have known to do that unless I told them to do it.
Mhm.
You know, I told them, I said, if you don't know what this thing is, check in with your kids because you're not going to want to miss out. So, you know, and even the next day I said, all right, who called their kids? You know, and then I got a hands. And now what I did was I created social proof. The whole rest of the room, if they didn't call home, they got the proof. They didn't even need to call home. The rest of the room told them, you need this. Your kids are going to go nuts for it and you're going to be a superhero. So, and that makes mom happy too, because now you're not just spending money traveling to a show. You're actually coming home with something. Like bring home the bacon.
So is there a way to set it up with, I mean, how do you do a 3-day event? How do you harvest the phones?
Oh, all we need to know is the location, the geolocation, and the dates and times. That's all we need to know about it.
And
And then-
how much does it cost?
There's setup fees to get it done. You figure you probably want to have about a $5,000 budget really to effectively do it. Because you can't just do it once. Retargeting is like you do that over months and months and months. So you want to make sure that you've got budget in place to do it. And then there's setup fees to get it set up, get the feed set up and all that. So, but that's about what you want to figure as a budget. It's about $5,000.
Well, if you figure there's going to be at least 10,000 people there.
Yeah. You want to be able to hit them multiple times a day over, a period of time. So it's cheap, but it'll add up. It's like if you're buying, say it's $20 1,000 for impressions and you've got 10,000 people that you want to hit 3 times a day, that's 30,000 impressions. So 30 times the 20, it can add up when you're doing volume numbers like that. So,
And then once you get them, you put them in Kartra and you just drip on them, right?
well, what you're doing, think about the retargeting is just an ad. You're just trying to get them to click. Once they click, now they're on a landing page. And then they get your big idea, and your big idea should, it should have those key components of here's what I've got, here's what it's going to do for you, here's what to do next. And then you can either get them to opt in for a free thing or get them to opt in for a free training or, whatever it is. And then you can start marketing to them. What you don't want to do is just clobber them over the head with, hey, buy or die. Here's my thing, take it or leave it. You don't want to do that. You want to create value. You want to, that's why they call it a sales process. Sale is on the end of a sales process. So you're creating a sales process that starts with that grab their attention. It always starts there. And that's going to be your ad. That's your retargeting ad. The beauty of this is you can do it so inexpensively. $20 1,000 ads going out. That's pretty cheap. So, but the idea is never do anything like a shotgun approach, even though it's cheap and you can send out a lot of them. The more specific you are of who you send the right message to, the better off you'll be and the cheaper it will get. That's what you all want is cheap advertising, not expensive advertising. And every ad is going to be expensive if it doesn't convert. I don't care if it's a penny or $10,000. It's expensive if it doesn't convert. Because money out that doesn't come back is expensive. That's not an investment. That's an expense, pure and simple.
Or you could call it experience, and that's always expensive.
Yeah, I generally refer to those as lessons. I like to learn my lessons quickly in one shot.
No
And
more,
I've learned a lot of lessons, believe me.
no more than 100 grand a year, please.
Yeah, I have an education that is probably more expensive than most people that went through Harvard. And that's a pretty good trick without going to school. But it's called a lot of lessons.
So would you give us a complete program if someone, like a checklist of the things that our team would need to do in order to pull that off to the maximum opportunity level?
I can give you an acronym that covers it all. Anybody guess?
Act.
There you go. ACT is the exact program that every ad agency out there uses. Whether they know it or not, that's what they're doing.
No, but I mean, I got that. Well, that's our religion.
Yeah.
Exact, really, sort of our spiritual foundation and business. But the other part is an actual to-do list of things that you would need to do in this kind of harvesting, this kind of lead harvesting.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty basic on that end of things. It's the address of where you want to target, the times or days that you want to target there. That's really all we need to set up the feed for it. And then it moves into advertising. Then it moves into your banners. You know, we can do the banner creation for you if you've got the messaging, but it's the messaging that's the most important thing. That's where ACT comes in. Figuring out, you know, what is your offer? What's your freebie? What's your sales process? The retargeting or the crowd targeting, that's basically a traffic piece. That's all that is. That's a traffic piece that's in the T of ACT. So you have to make sure you've got the A and the C, which is the analysis of who you're selling to, what they want, why they want it, and then the creation of the ad campaign, which is your sales process, which takes them through grabbing their attention, creating the demand and desire with the free thing or whatever you're going to give them, and building them up to where they have to have this thing, and then making them an offer. So those are the things that you would need prior to the traffic. If you jump into any kind of traffic before you have a sales process in place, you're going to struggle and fail. I can almost guarantee it. I've seen it over and over and over for the last 30 years. And everybody wants to do that. They see the traffic. They're like, oh my God, I can have all these people. That will solve my problems. And it will not. I guarantee it. I've told everybody right from the beginning, all traffic is a magnifying glass. Traffic is a magnifier. If you've got problems, it's going to magnify them. If you have a sales process that sells and it drops customers out the end of the list, for every person you put in the front of the funnel, it's going to magnify that. So you want to make sure you have that done first before you get into any kind of ad program. Otherwise, it's just going to be expensive. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, who you are, what you're selling, to who you're selling it to. None of that matters. That is a true fact of the matter, is the traffic is going to magnify whatever is there. So if you don't have a sales process, you have a problem, and traffic is going to magnify that. Does that make sense? I certainly hope so, because it doesn't get any more truthful than that. I mean, that's from a guy that sells traffic. I sell traffic, and I turn business away on a daily basis because I don't want to waste people's money. I don't want to magnify problems, because at the end of it, it always brings me into a come to Jesus meeting that I don't want any part of. So I don't like those kind of confrontations. So I'll avoid them at any cost. So think about that, whatever kind of traffic you're doing, whether it's SEO or solo email ads or even email out to your own list. You might not see email out to your own list as a cost, but it is. It's a cost of your time, and it's also a cost of burning your prospects. If you're not ready to email your own list and you don't have a process, everything you do has to be engineered in business. You don't just send out an email just so you can stay in touch. It has to be engineered. It has to be moving them forward toward a desired outcome. It goes back to the timeline in ACT. The timeline is, where is your prospect and where do they want to be? And it's your job to help them move down the line. It's your job to fulfill on their desired outcome on that timeline. And the more of it you do as just being there helpful for them, the more they'll value you. And the closer they get to the outcome, the more they're willing to pay to get the rest of the way. So engineer everything. Engineer every step of the process. And again, it's easier said than done. And I do a terrible job of it, but I at least try, and it works. I do, a little bit of everything I'm telling you, and it works. And I've been fairly successful with that limited effort. Think about what you or I could do if we really got serious. So the idea is, if you do it even at the level I do, which is a fraction, it will work. It does work. It always has. But one thing's for sure, if you don't do anything, you know what that's going to get you. Or if you're doing something that's not working and you keep doing it, it's going to get you more of the same. If you spend money on traffic, it's going to magnify it. So these are all just simple truths to this whole world that we live in, that is in the ad space. And it's part of business. Business is whatever you have. Business is transacting money for a product or service. And to do that, you have to make sales. To make sales, you have to have a sales process. Sales do not just fall out of the sky. People don't, your phone will not just ring because you have a phone number. You have to tell somebody what you do, why they want it, and how to contact you. And then the phone might ring. Now you have a chance. You're in the game. At the very basic level, that's advertising. That's marketing, telling people what you do, creating demand and desire for it, and telling them how to get a hold of you, how to take the next step. Back to, here's what I've got. Here's what it's going to do for you. Here's what I want you to do next. It's really in in the scheme of things, like I said, it's really simple, really easy. I don't know why it's so hard to implement. It's almost a cliche, easier said than done. I can say it all day long, but then every time I have to do it, I'm like, oh shit, that's a lot of work.
Hey, John, can I say something? Sorry for being late. I just wanted to see you and all my friends before Christmas.
Absolutely.
The hardest part for me is I never had to hire an accountant. I don't know what's going through my prospect's head, and that's been the most difficult thing. So when you say, give them what they want, most of them don't even know what they want.
Correct. Yeah, no, that is a very valid point. And I refer to that a lot of times too, when you have to tell them what they want. It was just like the example I gave you with the Wii. When I showed up with the Wiis, half the audience didn't even know what it was. It's a little white box. They're like, what the hell am I going to do with that? So I told them what it was and why they wanted it. I said, this is you get in the raffle and you bring this home to your kids, you're going to be a hero. And then I said, just call your kids and ask them what a Wii is. So now all of a sudden I've created demand and desire for this thing that 2 minutes ago, they had no idea what it was. And it's the same thing with accounting. You know, a lot of people don't even know what it is. They don't know why they want it. You know, yeah, they know they got to do their taxes, but, you know, can't I just show up with a box of shit handed to somebody? You know?
Yeah, that's what they think, but you know, they do
Yeah.
not, and I think a lot of people are not cognizant of the fact that the IRS is hiring 85,000 auditors.
Yeah.
So
So
I want
that
to jump on that, you know, that's an opportunity for me.
So that is exactly where you have to come in and you have to tell them what they want, why they want it. Here's what I've got. Here's what it's going to do for you. And here's what I want you to do next.
So do I tell them some of the horror stories that I've seen, or?
That comes in when you're creating demand and desire. Your first thing is really to grab their attention. Tell them something they don't know that is going to wake them up to, oh my God, I need that. And then your sales process starts. But that's the first step, is grab attention, always. If you can't grab attention, you can't get them in the rest of the process. So in a lot of times that grabbing attention is telling them something they don't know. You've now alerted them to something that they need and they'll want it. I can't tell you how many times I have bought something that the day before I had no idea what it was. Somebody showed it to me, told me what it did, why I needed it, and the next day I had it. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have all had the same experience. Yeah.
That makes it a lot easier. You never told me to tell them what they want.
Yeah, a lot of times they don't know. If they don't know, then it's your job to tell them.
Okay, that makes it a lot easier. Thank you.
You're the professional. You know, it's like for me, it's my job to tell them they don't need SEO. And you know, they think they want SEO, but then when I tell them you're not ready for SEO, what does that do for my trust factor with them? It sends it absolutely through the roof, and I can pull them back to where they need to be, and I can start selling them stuff, and I can create a lifetime prospect that will pay me tens of thousands of dollars over both of our lifetimes. Or I can sell them the thing that they thought they wanted and just be a salesperson and just sell it to them, and knowing it's not going to work, and they're going to stop using it and they'll probably never use me again. That's the two approaches I could take. So tell them what they need, tell them what they want, and show them why. Say, here's what I've got. Here's what this will do for you. And, you know, sometimes you got to take them way back. Sometimes, you know, they're so far ahead of themselves that they're going to get hurt. You know, guy on the cliff that's sold on skydiving or cliff jumping, and he hasn't researched it enough to know he needs a cord attached to him before he jumps. You might want to talk him off the ledge and say, dude, come here. Let me show you how this works so you don't hurt yourself. That's your job. It's your job to protect them. Your job to serve them. You know, I mean, it sounds like law enforcement, but it's your job to protect and serve your clients. So hopefully that makes sense. That kind of makes that a little easier. But you are right. A lot of times, you know, we haven't been on the other side of the fence, so we don't know, you know, what they're actually feeling. So it's important to you know, a lot of times you'll have past customers and you can have candid conversations with them. And this is where you can ask those relevant questions. You know, you can have a chat with them and figure a lot of stuff out. So cool stuff.
John, I got a question for you.
Yeah, sure, Josh, go ahead.
So I was chatting with a guy on a Zoom call the other day, and he said he takes crypto as payment. And I was sat there and I'm like, okay, but I don't think Kartra has an automated system to take crypto as payment. I'm like, I'm gonna need to ask John this.
Well, you're right. Kartra currently does not have a system in play for that. And a lot of people, quite honestly, a lot of places don't have that yet. But I don't know offhand, and I hate these guys to the core, but I believe PayPal either has it or is very close to having it right now.
Okay,
So if you have a PayPal account, you can take the crypto through the PayPal indirectly through your Kartra account, if that will work.
this then goes to a question more for Joe. How do we do taxes for crypto for payment?
Yeah,
Or
I
Teresa.
want to hear this one too.
Well, here's the thing, it's pretty simple. It's like when you have crypto, you own an asset. And when you take the money out, what you're doing is you're creating a taxable event when you pay somebody. So let's say you pay somebody $100. You're going to have to report that $100 on your tax return, and you got to figure out what your cost basis is.
Yeah, so it's just like selling
Teresa,
stock.
I think Teresa knows a little bit more about.
I would say Teresa looked like she wanted to say something.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's complicated because actually the IRS has some pretty interesting regs that are in development. So yeah, it's just as if it's almost as if you would take, say, a foreign currency as payment and then go to the bank and exchange it for dollars.
Teresa, wouldn't it be like a mutual fund?
It's defined as an asset. Actually, perhaps we should have a side conversation.
Yeah,
I thought it was property.
It's property. It's like if you traded your Van Gogh for somebody's Lamborghini. Yeah, that's a taxable event.
Isn't it like barter then? With barter transactions, you still got to report those barter transactions
sure.
on your tax return.
Well, there's a question on your tax return last year and this year. Have you engaged in any cryptocurrency transactions?
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. Like from Josh's point of view, he's basically looking at this as if he sells $100 item and he gets paid in crypto. He received $100, so it's income. On your business books, you sold a product, you got paid. The interesting thing is because you got paid in crypto, if you instantly convert it into dollars, I don't think there's a problem. I think it's just like you got paid $100. If you leave it as a crypto asset and tomorrow it's worth 200, you not only got paid 100, but you also had a capital gain of 100%. I have no idea how the hell the IRS thinks they're going to track all this.
They actually have apps that'll calculate your cost basis, but I think Teresa's right. This is like a moving target, and they're just still figuring it out. Not just the IRS, it's the whole world.
Yeah. Well, I got into Dan Hollings, the plan they call it. Mm-hmm. And I've had this thing set up now for a couple of weeks. And it's doing all these little micro transactions. It's like you're day trading. In the last 2 weeks, I've done over 2,000 buy and sells. And it's profited up. I'm up a couple $1,000s right now. But it's all like, micro transactions. Some of these transactions are like it's buying and selling at $10 at a time. I mean, it's going to be a nightmare for somebody to figure out what the hell I have done.
It's gonna be a nightmare for accountants.
Yeah.
Or it could be another opportunity to bill people.
Yeah. They're talking about there's some kind of a program. I haven't looked into it yet, but it's a program that will download all of your ledgers out of your Kraken account, and it'll download them into a spreadsheet and figure it all out for you and just give you the numbers that you need to hand to that accountant. So
Eventually it'll be just like your brokerage account where they tell you what your gains and losses have been throughout the year. But the regulations aren't in place. So of course, the exchanges aren't going to do it.
Yeah, that's probably true. I bet you that's what it's going to come down to. It'll be just like E-Trade. They'll give you your cost basis if you cash stuff out, and they'll just give you a statement, a year-end tax statement.
Yeah, unless you're playing the arbitrage between two different exchanges.
Yeah, hadn't thought about that. There's several of these exchanges like KuCoin. KuCoin is an offshore exchange, and they will not verify your account, your identity as a US citizen if you're a US citizen. But it doesn't mean that you can't trade on their platform.
Right.
All it means is you can't trade on their platform as a US citizen. So I'll let you guys figure out what that means.
It means you create your offshore avatar.
Yeah.
You have another personality.
Yeah, exactly. But
Untaxable and untraceable.
Yeah, but you can fund that account with US dollars. You can trade it back and forth. You can pay people out with it. Interesting.
Well, that's one of the great things about crypto for some people. It's a great little money laundering scheme. I would not laugh, John. It's very serious. There's a lot of money.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Money.
I'm not looking to launder money. I'm just looking to I'm looking at the fastest growth vehicle I've ever seen, outside of business itself. Business is the only thing I've ever seen where you could actually drive growth, for your future. Anything that you're invested in, it's going to have growth, but it's not going to be doubling and tripling in any short time frame. It's going to be years to double. So.
Yeah. The only reason I brought it up to touch on that, John, is he sells these like speakeasies to come talk to billionaires for $1,000. You get yourself out there though. And he's like, even though we got all the stimulus, people don't have $1,000 in cash anymore, but they have $1,000 in crypto, and they'll gladly pay me $1,000 in crypto. And he's like, 60% of my sales now is just crypto.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm like, that's a good point.
It's interesting because, PayPal is the same thing. PayPal basically was like the first crypto. It's just based on a US dollar as its value. It doesn't have this value exchange like the other cryptos. It's based purely on the US dollar. So one PayPal dollar is worth one US dollar minus the transaction fees. So you lose a little bit in the process, which is acceptable. That's an acceptable business practice that people are already used to. So with that in mind, I can tell you, I haven't used PayPal over the last year, but when I was using it, I would get people that would buy my stuff with PayPal dollars that would not buy it with credit card dollars, because the credit card, they've got to pay the bill. With the PayPal dollars, it's almost like monopoly money. They will spend it a lot freer. And I think you're going to see that same thing, just like you mentioned in crypto and Bitcoin. They've got all this Bitcoin and they see, oh yeah, I spent 10 grand on it. Now it's worth, $500,000. I can spend this freely. It's not my cash out of my pocket. Mm-hmm. So I think positioning yourself to take PayPal or to take crypto payments is going to be a really cutting edge thing in the near future. I think it's going to open up a lot of business that you wouldn't ordinarily have because of it.
You do that.
So it's a great opportunity.
John, I was actually looking at paying my Philippine people in crypto.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, why not? It'll be quicker. It takes like 3 or 4 days for them to clear their money.
Yeah. And I believe there's no transaction fees if you're just sending it to them.
Yeah, there's like, I
Transfer.
need to send money to the Philippines. I gotta pay and they gotta pay.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting stuff. I know when I pay my people overseas, I always pay all the transaction fees on my end, so they don't feel that. But I'd like to eliminate those. So that would be cool.
Wow. How do you even set up making it available for people to pay you on by way of crypto?
Well, that's kind of the tricky part. That's the whole new edge of this whole thing. And that's what I think PayPal, if they don't have it already, I think they're real close to releasing that.
I think you can pay on PayPal, but I wouldn't even know how to access the crypto to pay. You know what I mean? Let me see something.
Well, people that have crypto, they would know how to do that. You can transfer it between exchanges. So PayPal is probably looked at just like an exchange. It's like dollars. You can transfer money into your PayPal account, so you've got PayPal dollars to pay people, or you can just connect it to your bank account. So when you make a PayPal payment, it just gets pulled out of your bank account as dollars. I'm sure it's going to be very similar, if not identical to that.
Yeah.
So pretty cool stuff. Then last week, I know some of you guys missed the boat ride, but we had a pretty cool time going out looking
Here,
at
John,
all the boats.
This is PayPal, buy, sell, and
Yeah.
hold crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin.
Yeah.
and
So they've
then
already
yeah.
so
and
they've
you
already
buy
made the
it,
thing. So
and they've got a
PayPal,
little learn more about the whole
Yeah.
thing, getting started with crypto.
so it looks like PayPal is now an exchange.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Your Cash App, you can buy and actually transfer out crypto to people too.
Yeah. So there you go, Josh. That's your answer. You can hook up PayPal through Kartra and they can pay through Bitcoin.
Wow.
All right.
That's that. I wasn't aware that they already did it.
There's a Visa card too.
Yeah, I
That'll
knew
do
they
it.
were close. Pretty interesting. I know there's some speculation amongst a lot of people in the crypto world that Elon Musk is that the guy that started it all with the pseudonym, that Japanese pseudonym. But do you remember his name, Teresa?
Satoshi something.
Yeah.
But
They
So the-
believe and speculate that was Elon Musk that created that. And then he turned around and created PayPal. Then he dumped out of it.
well, I actually watched a YouTube video on that. I guess Satoshi, whatever his name is, it equates to in the English translation of overseeing intelligence, which would be the CIA essentially. So they think it's the CIA, this group, and I'm like, I think it's
Really?
conspiracy theories, but it's pretty damn close what they went for.
Well, that's interesting.
What was that? I missed it. I'm sorry. I was looking at the
So-
Bitcoin on PayPal.
I want to say, and I looked that up too. It looks like you can only just buy and hold. You can't transfer it. But it was Satoshi, whatever his last name is. This one person, I don't even remember it. They pretty much, this YouTuber is fluent in Japanese, and he said the way that name translates to English is essentially overseeing intelligence, which he's like, which for Americans would be CIA.
Or in Elon's Musk.
Oh yeah, or
Elon
that.
Musk's eyes himself.
That must be just a nightmare for accountants to take crypto payments.
Yeah, it's going to be like, I look at where we are today versus where we were like 10 years ago. And it's a different world. I mean, if you really think about what's different today than 10 years ago, that's a very different world. And I'm thinking about like what's going to happen in the next few years.
Mhm.
I mean, it could be dollars may not exist anymore. Who knows? You know, I hate to think that, but it's possible. Yeah. I don't even know what we're in for, but I know we all better get ready because it's going to happen whether we're ready or not. And just positioning yourself. I've made a lot of money over the last 30 years just by positioning myself ahead of stuff.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm not the first one there. I've never been the first one to the food bowl, but I get there early. I get there before it's empty. So you got to watch what's going on and you know, just be in tune with it and think, be creative. I mean, we're all business people, we're all entrepreneurs, and that's our job. Figure it out, you know, figure out what's ahead of the curve and position yourself there. That's how we make money. That's how we avoid going back to a job. It's one or the other. I know which one I'm taking.
Seriously. Well, let's see.
I have a question about your one of your cyber offers. You
Mhm.
did a special bonus for the enterprise level Zoom. Did that come through Be Connected?
Yeah, that's a direct line off the back end to Be Connected.
So we can offer that also?
Mhm. Yep.
What took them so long to get that? I know that there was a long delay in that.
Yeah, and I really kind of sidestepped it and just kind of took it without waiting for the delay. I just kind of went around it.
Do we are we able to step around it too, so we can actually offer it? Or
Yeah.
all right, cool.
Yeah, there's really nothing preventing anybody from going there. You just have to know what the link is.
I didn't realize that. Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah. I was trying to get it set up and branded, you know, under the whole internet dominator thing so I could offer the same thing. And the company that's doing it it's a small company and they're just so overwhelmed with what they're already into that it's impossible to get through to them. So I figured, all right, I've waited long enough. I'm just going to go around it. I don't need my name on it. I just want people to get the deal. So. There wasn't any real, you know, monetary thing in it for me other than just having it be a branded thing. And when it was just that long of a hill, I'm like, yeah, hell with that. I don't need the branding.
Good to know. But just being able to provide it to somebody creates greater value, I think.
Yeah,
They just
absolutely.
don't remember where they got it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we wrap up here?
How you feeling, Tim?
Much better than I was last week, I'll tell you.
Down for the count, huh?
As most of the people in my mastermind are on my newsletter found out that last Thursday I was sitting downstairs with 104 fever for 3 days. It took me to beat it.
Wow. That's not good.
We thought it was COVID, but I had no respiratory, no issues, no coughing, no chest problem, just a heavy fever and like wrapped up in blankets. I had to take like 2 showers a day to cool myself down. And yeah.
Well, you apparently didn't get the memo. Anything out of the normal is COVID.
Well, yeah. If I would have died, it would have been of COVID, but yeah.
Exactly.
He's talking, it's COVID.
Yeah. You got a stuffy nose, it's COVID.
But no, it was a real knockdown that, like, you know, I thought I really was worried that I was going to spend my second Christmas in a row with COVID.
Yeah. Well,
Just
I
a
mean,
heavy fever.
that's a perfect example of what I was talking about. Like 10 years ago, it was a different world.
Yeah.
I was in Target yesterday picking up a couple of things, and I walked past where their pharmacy was, and there's this line around the building getting these, what is it, COVID shots,
COVID
and
kits.
COVID tests.
The test kits.
And they're out of the test kits, and everybody's like screaming, you know, where's the test kits? Where can we get them? And it's like they're telling them they're sold out everywhere. You have to try Amazon. And I'm like, why in the hell would you want a COVID test kit? Who cares if you've got COVID? It's like, that's like the flu. Who cares?
Well, now
Go to bed and get over it.
If
What do you need a
if-
test for?
Well, because if you fly anywhere, the government just instituted, you need a 1-day test turnaround. So they're really trying to like just hinder people from doing anything and everything. Even if you have a vaccine, it doesn't matter. You got to get a test to prove that you don't have a virus that they can't prove that exists. It's just, the CDC announced that last week because there's so many lawsuits against them now. Anyway.
Yeah, but I guarantee you all these people in Target weren't flying. They just wanted this test. You know, and a friend of mine, really good friend of mine since high school, last week he got the flu, normal flu symptoms, and he actually left his house to go to the doctor to get a COVID test. And I'm like, why? Go to bed, get well, and get back with it. What the hell do you need to know if you had COVID for? Who cares? It's a freaking flu. It's like, seriously? You had to get out of bed. What if you had it? You went and you exposed a whole bunch of people going to get a test to tell you had it? Really?
They do make great stocking stuffers, John.
Holy shit. I mean, that is a world we did not live in a few years ago.
Right.
It's like,
Well, I've learned where I'm safe from COVID. All right. When I'm sitting down in a restaurant, I'm safe from it.
yeah.
Right.
You know, all right.
If you walk in the door, you got to wear your mask.
I gotta watch walking in the door because that's where you can catch it. Now you can catch
But
it at
once
church.
you sit down, you're
Yeah,
safe.
you go to church, you might catch it at church. All right, but you know, it's not at Walmart. No,
No,
not at Walmart.
It's not at Costco.
Not at
No,
Costco.
it's Not at Sam's Club.
Yeah.
In
Crazy.
Texas.
I tell you, it's a crazy world we live in right now that didn't exist a couple of years ago. And my speculation is it's only going to get crazier.
Hey, John, Michelle and I went to the theater, musicals. We've gone to 3 recently. And this last one, each one, you go through a metal detector, they check your purse and such, and you have to show an active current vaccine card along with your ID. And every single person admitted must be vaccinated. There's no a test will get you through it, right? Nonetheless, you must wear a mask throughout the entire premises, including during the performance. But we discovered that there is available an item you can take to your seat that creates about a 10-foot, like, the mosquito repellent, the individual mosquito repellents that you attach, so that's a couple hours. If you buy a charcuterie tray, apparently the COVID, you create a bubble of anti-COVID protection. So as long as you have charcuterie at your seat, you can stay unmasked the entire performance because it can't penetrate the charcuterie bubble. But everybody around you must have their mask. And there are people in the aisles verifying.
That is awesome.
What state do you live in, Roger?
California.
I thought
California.
California.
Yeah. It's absolutely bonkers what is going on.
Gotta love medical tyranny. Woohoo!
Crazy stuff.
Libby, you're not in California anymore? I thought you were. Oh.
No, I
You
moved,
didn't come to Texas, did you?
I moved to Franklin, Tennessee, almost a year ago.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I escaped.
Just in time too.
Well, it's hard for me. I'm a beach girl. I've lived on the beach my whole life. I was born and raised in California. I just moved my way down the coast the whole time. But there were so many things that I thought, I don't have enough time to tell you why it's bizarre. So I live here, and if I want to go back, it's a 4-hour plane ride. I go visit people, I leave. That's it.
Libby,
Florida has a
detecting-
coast too, and they're not as restrictive out there. Just saying.
I'm detecting a Tennessean accent. Is that possible in 1 year?
Yeah.
Pardon? What'd you say?
I'm detecting a
yeah.
Tennessean accent.
I am
y'all.
telling you, it happens. I thought, oh my gosh, did I say that? And I'll go, y'all. Oh God, no, I did it again. Yeah, it's funny.
Oh, man. So Roger, we missed you the other day on the boat. What happened?
So the real issue is that
Hi, John.
Michelle has to be at work at 7 a.m. on Monday morning. And she has a insomnia pill she takes that requires her, she's not here listening or she'd kill me for this, that requires that she sleeps 8 hours or she's loopy and can't drive or function. So she has to have this whole evening process that works. So our Sundays starting at 2 p.m. are ritualized. No visitors, no family, no anything. Sunday at 2 p.m. is lockdown.
Gotcha.
Saturdays and Fridays we can do anything.
Well, we'll have to get you out on another date here.
Yeah.
It was super fun, Roger.
When you bringing that
Michelle.
boat
I'm
down here
envious.
to Texas, John?
Oh, I would probably just as soon buy one there.
Well, I think you should buy one here so I can come visit.
Yeah.
There you go.
He'll keep it for you. He'll keep it.
Yeah,
nice.
if you need somebody to monitor it for you, I can take care of that
Yeah.
for you too. Yeah.
There you go.
I'm actually thinking about the Caribbean at this point.
Oh,
Limbo land worldwide. Limbo
Yeah.
by land, limbo by sea.
Yeah, as long as you're in limbo, what happens in limbo stays in limbo, right?
Exactly.
that's Michelle and I's motto.
There you go. Well, we got the place for you.
Hey, Roger, I think I'll throw this out there. I don't know if he is still on, but she and I had a conversation because I was sleeping literally 4 to 4.5 hours a night. Doing a couple of the things that she recommended. There was no out-of-pocket expense. It was a conversation. It was an adjustment of a couple of items. I'm sleeping consistently 7 to 8 hours a night now.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
you might want to just talk to her.
Yeah, that's right. She's
Tell her
our
Linda sent you.
our
Yes.
sleep specialist.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Kai is really
That's
good.
right. She has put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
All right, guys.
Hey,
Anything
John.
else before we wrap up here? And
I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Now let's go make some money.
Yeah.
all right. Well, one more call before the end of the year. We'll be on next week, and we'll have a big old party celebration and ring in 2022.
Cool.
So,
Thanks, John. Hey, I sent you an email, John. I replied to your email and thank you so much and added to it. So
okay,
thank
no
you.
problem. I'll get you fixed up.
You do. You always do. I sit and I go through things going, okay, come on, Libby, like you can do this. You don't need to ask John. You can figure it out. And then I go, oh, shoot. I just messed up. So I do try to do it.
Oh, no worries. I'm here for you anytime you need me.
Thank you much. Thank you much. Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Bye, Mary. Bye-bye,
All right.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See you
Happy
later.
holidays. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.